call the bus meeting to order. The first order of business is a list of speakers, and we have one, Mr. Murray Bowden. Murray? Murray? There are no public speakers. So we have the first order of business is going to be approval of the minutes for the July 23rd meeting. Do we have a motion? Any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Do we have any changes to the committee's work plan?
Yes, there's one change to the work plan. The prior work plan called for an EEO and diversity report on efforts to address underutilization to be presented this month. But to be consistent with the other MTA agencies, the bus operations work plan has been amended to reflect that we'll present it in October.
Okay. Now I'll turn it over to Darrell for a report.
Okay, good morning. We're going to start off with John Kiblahan giving reports on operations through the month of July.
Okay, the performance highlights for the month of July 2012 and the past 12 months are on pages 12 and 13 of the committee book. I'll start with fleet reliability. For the month of July, the combined mean distance between failure was 4,019 miles, or 44% greater when compared to the July 2011 levels. When looking at our performance over a rolling 12 months, the combined MDBF was 4,001 miles, or an improvement of almost 19% when compared to the prior 12-month period. These results are the highest July, summer, and year-to-date results ever achieved. Clearly, the investments in our maintenance program at the beginning of the year, and to a lesser extent during the summer months, are paying dividends. Next, I'll talk about our service indicators for the month of July. The percent of scheduled pullouts for the AM and PM peak periods were 99.5 and 99.8% respectively. The percent of completed trips was 99%. When looking at our performance over a rolling 12-month period, AM and PM pullouts were 99 and 99.4% respectively, improvements of 0.3 and 0.2%. The percent of completed trips were 98.5, an improvement of 0.5%. That completes the operations report. Are there any questions?
I just think it wouldn't be a riot if the complete trips were higher than the pullouts.
Before we go on to the safety report with Steve Idell, I just want to highlight again the MDF numbers, the reliability numbers. Looking at them and seeing a 44%, greater compared to the year before is extraordinary. I want to congratulate all of you for that.
Thank you.
Steve?
Thank you. Our comments on July's customer and employee safety performance refers to the results listed on page 14. On a regional basis, the 12-month rate for combined bus collisions per million miles traveled across the two bus agencies is 5.8% lower in the right direction than it was the prior 12-month period. The 12-month rate for regional collision injuries per million miles is up marginally at 0.6%, which represents an incremental improvement over the 1.4% reported at the July committee meeting. For the current reporting period, customer accidents and customer accident injuries continues to be up on a 12-month basis. It is important to note that both these indicators have significantly improved over what was reported at the July committee meeting. The increase in customer accidents, which was reported to be up 16.4% in July, is now up at 12.4%. The increase in customer accident injuries, which was reported to be up 17.9% in July, is now up at 12.2%. Both of these indicators continue to be areas of concern. We'll continue to monitor this performance closely while also maintaining our Bus Accident and Safety Improvement Coordination System, or BASICS program, that we introduced in mid-March earlier this year. Over the long term, we anticipate the ongoing benefits from both the BASICS performance improvement initiatives and the customer awareness measures we put into place earlier in the year. Finally, the 12-month average rate for employee on-duty lost time accidents is 4.1% lower on a regional basis. This improvement resulted from the positive results experienced both at MTA Bus Company and New York City Transit. To maintain performance improvements in this area, we're continuing to work of our oversight working group, which has focused on mitigating the occurrence of injuries through top-down investigations of each report of injury, increased safety awareness campaigns, as well as identification of root cause of incidents that have occurred. This concludes the monthly safety report. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Steve?
I'd like to introduce Tom Charles.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning. The paratransit performance summary is on page 16 of the committee book. For the month of July 2012, accessorized paratransit ridership was up 5.9% compared to July 2011 levels. 12-month ridership levels were up by 4.6% in accessorized. Over the 12-month period ending July 2012, there was virtually no change in the monthly average of accessorized requests for service. The favorable no-show trend continued in the month of July as accessorized passenger no-shows declined by 17.8%. One item that I'd like to report on is that this past July, Paratransit began a gradual rollout of the Interactive Voice Response System, IVR system. The first feature employed is a outbound notification to customers of the pending arrival of the paratransit vehicle. Approximately 15 minutes before the vehicle arrives at the pickup location, an automated message triggered by the automatic vehicle location monitoring system is sent to the customer by telephone, SMS, text messaging, and email. We have started this service with 4,000 subscription service customers and will continue to activate the system for all customers by the fall of this year. By the spring of 2013, we plan to offer customers direct access by phone or web to conduct transactions or obtain information that would normally require the assistance of call center agents. This completes the paratransit report.
Are there any questions? Okay, there are none. Tom Del Sorbo?
Good morning.
Financial report?
The July ridership reports shown on page 15 of the committee book. For the month of July 2012, overall average weekday ridership decreased by 0.7% when compared to July 2011. MTA bus average weekday ridership rose by 0.4% in July 2012, but New York City Transit decreased by 0.9% for the same period. Average weekend ridership in July was down at New York City Transit bus by 2.8%, but increased at MTA bus by 1.2%, resulting in an overall reduction of 2.3%. Express bus ridership on weekdays increased at New York City Transit by 2.7% and declined by 1.3% in July at MTA bus. An early look at preliminary 2012 ridership data indicates that average weekday ridership levels were up 4.1% for MTA bus and 2.4% for New York City Transit. But it's important to note that August 2011 ridership levels were adversely affected by Hurricane Irene and the unprecedented shutdown of service in the region for the period leading up to and during the storm. I'll move on to the revenue and expense budget report as summarized on page 17. Year-to-date July 2012 farebox revenues are lower than the mid-year forecast for both transit bus and MTA bus by 0.3%. Overall, farebox revenues are $1.8 million or 0.3% lower than forecast through July 2012. Beginning with this committee's reports this month in July, agencies are now reporting all results against the mid-year forecast that was contained in the July financial plan. When we move to the expense side, bus operations July 2012 year-to-date non-reimbursable accrued expenses reflect a favorable variance of $21.6 million, or 1.4%, as New York City Transit bus is favorable by $21.3 million, and MTA bus is also favorable to forecast by $300,000. The performance against forecast is a combination of favorable non-labor expenses of $33.3 million, partially offset by unfavorable labor expenses of $11.7. The non-labor variance is primarily due to the use of lower-cost taxis and vouchers for paratransit, the timing of maintenance and other operating contracts, favorable fuel costs, and the timing of maintenance material spending. Labor expenses, which were unfavorable by over $11 million, resulted primarily from overtime costs and related fringe benefit expenses tied to the bus maintenance effort that reversed the negative trend in MDBF, but also bus operator vacancies and traffic delays. The last item for discussion on the finance report is our quarterly update on overtime. All agencies are providing this update on non-reimbursable overtime performance to their committees. With regard to bus operations, through July year-to-date 2012. Combined non-reimbursable overtime for buses, this is both New York City Transit and MTA Bus, was $10.6 million, or 9.7% higher than the mid-year forecast of almost $109.5 million. This reflects both scheduled and unscheduled overtime. The main driver for the unfavorable year-to-date overtime results was $3.7 million in spending to support the maintenance effort that began at the end of 2011 to improve fleet reliability and reverse the negative MDBF trend. The investment has improved bus MDBF over last year's performance after more than a year-long decline. In addition, to avoid losing the MDBF improvements during the summer months, a preventive bus maintenance effort was initiated, and this contributed another $1 million to the overtime overrun for July. Bus operator vacancies and absentee coverage and traffic delays accounted for the remainder of the overtime overrun. The overtime overrun in operations was partially offset by underruns in the non-operating employee groups. The maintenance effort has clearly shown a marked reduction in road calls and unscheduled maintenance work in addition to increased MDBF. And to deal with the bus operator staffing shortages that result in overtime, classes of newly hired bus operators have been scheduled every 2 weeks, and year-to-date approximately 440 bus operators have been hired. We continue to remain aggressive in our efforts to fill these vacancies and improve availability by implementing safety programs as well as addressing other attendance-related issues. Just for information, we've also included the 2012 mid-year forecast and monthly allocation for MTA Bus on page 107 of the book. The similar data for New York City Transit Bus is contained within the financial section of New York City Transit's committee book. That's it for the finance and ridership reports. Yes, Commissioner.
Alan?
Yeah, in terms of the ridership, your total ridership numbers, that's paid ridership. How are we doing on the collection of data regarding unpaid ridership?
It's an ongoing effort. We're working with the NYPD to determine. It's very, we don't have a baseline, Alan, to determine where it is, but we are in certain locations and certain runs that we notice that we're seeing more and more, but we're also seeing an uptick in the number of bus drivers being assaulted, which is as a result of this. So we're still in basically the second month of this program.
But are we collecting data for each route in which when people get in, are the bus drivers collecting that data?
Yes, we do. Bus operators are instructed to document it in the fare box when, and it's somewhat anecdotal. It's not exact because, we can't count for every person that comes through the back door, but there is a significant effort to document. But again, we're not ready to report on that at this time.
Okay, it's too soon.
All right, but we're moving towards that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Up to the procurement, Al?
Okay, there are a total of 5 procurement actions, 2 non-competitive, 2 competitive, and 1 ratification, representing a total expenditure of $10.7 million this month for the committee's approval, beginning on page 59 of the book. I'd like to highlight 2 of these items. The first is the request for board approval to issue a competitive RFP for procurement of up to 285 diesel express buses with an option to purchase an additional 15 buses. The staff summary for this item appears on page 70. The RFP process will allow New York City Transit to arrive at the best overall proposal through negotiations and evaluation based on criteria that reflect the needs of the agency. It is anticipated that there will be 2 bus manufacturers approved to compete for this order, thus creating a competitive environment. This will be the first time that New York City Transit has had competition for this bus type. Upon completion of the RFP process, New York City Transit intends to obtain board approval for the actual award of the contract. 285 over-the-road diesel express buses will be replacing aging buses that have reached the end of their useful 12-year life. The next procurement item for discussion that appears on page 72 covers a contract to conduct a pilot to test a traffic signal priority system, known as TSP, on the M15 select bus service route consisting of approximately, there will be 58 buses operating primarily on 1st and 2nd Avenue in Manhattan. The Department of Buses, working in conjunction with New York City Department of Transportation, is seeking to improve bus service through prioritizing green signals for buses. DOT has equipped selected corridors with traffic signal controllers along the M15 bus route. We will use the pilot to determine if TSP will provide improved on-time consistency. The goal of the pilot will include determining the benefits from utilizing TSP, which may include an improvement in bus on-time performance by reducing travel time and increased fuel economy due to less starting and stopping for red lights. And now we're prepared to answer any questions on these two or any of the procurements.
It's okay. On this signal prioritization, once the bus changes the light to green, all traffic can go, or just the bus?
All traffic.
And you might want to think about it as not changing the light to green. It's allowing a bus to go through and maintain it in green so that the bus isn't blocking the box, which then causes traffic problems. And that'll be, there's a lot of work that's gone on between the Department of Bus and
DOT.
and Commission Static.
So if the light is already green, the mechanism will not,
It may delay it.
It could extend it.
Hold it.
and has any thought been given to what that would do to crosstown traffic, hypothetically?
That's what the pilot's going to prove out. This is done throughout the country in different areas, so it's a matter of seconds, Andrew. And then there's an
just
algorithm built into it that would consider what the crosstown traffic impact would be.
Will this be just the SBS or all M15s?
On any bus on that corridor.
Any bus on the
But
corridor?
would be affected positively, but the SBS 15, I believe, is what's going to actually trigger it.
Is the MTA or paying for the retrofitting of the traffic signals themselves, or is DOT paying for that?
This is funded by a grant that DOT passed to the MTA for this pilot.
Okay, is this similar to what's happening on Fordham Road? Which is
Put your mic on. Mike.
I'm sorry. The Fordham Road is a localized traffic signal priority system. This is more of a robust system that we're working with the centralized DOT Traffic Management Center.
So if this is successful, it will spread to the other SBS routes then? Is that the idea?
Possibly.
I'm sorry, they have currently identified 10 corridors throughout the city where this would be rolled out to if successful.
So not just SBS, but other buses as well?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Including crosstown.
Yeah.
Not just.
Yeah, excellent.
Right.
Imagine when the two, if a crosstown one is gets priority and it hits the First and Second Avenue SBS one, who's going to get the priority then? I guess the north-south
It's
route.
kind of like when you crisscross the Ghostbusters. You never know what's going to happen.
Only in your dreams, Andrew. That I think is a very, very, very good opportunity. I mean, in the suburbs, we have this for ambulances, which can continue the green light on their way to the hospital and some fire department equipment, and it's proven to be very, very successful to extend the light because in those cases, as in this case, seconds are a matter of priority. So I think this is very good. On the bus purchase, I just wanted to make sure that in reading the staff summary, there are obviously two companies that look toward bidding on it, and I'm sure we've made clear to them how important New York State content is to this board.
Yes, we have.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me need to ask the committee for a motion. Is there a motion at this time for the procurement actions? Second. Any questions, further questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now I give the floor over to Norm Silverman. Norm, give us an update on some service changes and the passenger environmental review.
Okay.
Sir.
There are two bus-related service changes included as information in this month's agenda. The first item refers to the first formal informational staff summary regarding MTA bus regular schedule changes. Summaries of the regular MTA bus schedule change items, exactly like those presented for New York City Transit Bus, are now possible with the implementation at MTA Bus of the automated scheduling system we know as HASTIS, which has been used at NYCT for many years. The report is in the committee book beginning on page 76. The plan changes encompass 17 bus schedule changes on 15 routes for implementation in September 2012 and a few of them for early October 2012. 11 of the bus schedule changes contain reductions in service frequencies to more closely align service with customer usage and to meet MTA bus loading guidelines for bus operation. The remaining 6 bus schedule changes contain increase in service frequency and/or changes in span of service to more closely align service with actual customer usage. Implementation of the September 2012 schedule changes is estimated to result in annualized savings of $1.2 million. It should be noted that these specific changes follow many past schedule and span adjustments, many increases and some decreases over the years, in conformance with board-approved loading guidelines, as MTA bus ridership rose dramatically after the MTA assumed operation, and we had to deal with many issues deferred by the former private bus companies. The second item is an NYCT bus revision to modify the eastbound route path of the M60 local bus in Jackson Heights, Queens, in order to streamline the travel path to avoid a difficult turning movement. No current M60 stops would be affected by this small change. The staff summary for this item is found on page 83. Are there any questions regarding these two?
Yes, Andrew?
I'm sure you expected to hear from me on this.
I think so.
I mean, there's service adjustments and then there's service adjustments. Did everybody move or die on the Q11 route? 50% reduction in service?
No,
50%?
no. It's 50%.
From 30 minutes to 60 minutes, no?
Read the footnote. Read the footnote very carefully.
It's very small print, no?
I know. The footnote says it's only the Hamilton Beach and it's only in the reverse direction. It doesn't affect the main corridor of the service. It's only one little portion of the route that's affected by this.
So then I will ask again, what happened to the folks on that route? They're just not using the bus all of a sudden? Or?
The volume is very small in the reverse direction. It's very, very small. The numbers are small. It's only the segment south. We're only talking the segment south of Pitkin Avenue.
Could we, so those folks don't lose this kind of, I mean, could another route be?
No. It's an isolated, they're near that, they're very close to the Howard Beach branch. The segment we're talking about is an extremely short segment.
Yeah. So if they can walk to the Howard Beach branch?
They can walk.
About how far would that be?
Depending on exactly where they are, anywhere between a quarter of a mile and a half a mile. But again, you're talking about a very, very isolated group. Yes, we've been dealing with them quite a bit, but the numbers are extreme. When I say extremely light, I mean single digits per trip. Very, very light.
And that fell from the previous study, or it just always was that way?
It's something we got to. It's been declining for a while. The Q11 ridership in total has been declining as we've improved the limited stop service on the corridor, which is exactly what we expected would happen. But this happens to be a small branch of the Q11 in a very isolated area with low density.
And this will take effect when?
This actually did take effect. It took effect September 2nd. The week of September 2nd.
Because we didn't have a meeting, I guess.
It's only an information item.
Yeah. And the signs have been posted all over the place. And
yes.
Has the Howard Beach?
Yes. You're quite frankly, I think you're overestimating the impact of this. The ridership is extremely light.
We've had none of the electeds in the area. No one has had a response, positive or negative.
Really?
There was some concern in the prior change when we reduced the span of night service to that branch. That's a different issue, and those numbers were between 0 and 3 a trip. And you're talking about very light usage. Are there any other questions on the two changes?
And the passenger
All right, let me talk a little bit about the passenger PES results, which are provided in the committee book starting on page 87. As the initial MTA bus committee commenced, this is the first PES for MTA bus. The first half 2012 results are based only a 2-month sample. It's a small sample, but we did start up and we are going, and it will be prolific in the future. As this is the first effort, there is no comparable prior data for MTA bus, so reference within this initial report is made to NYCT data for the prior year's 6-month period, just as a reference point. The MTA bus report for the second half of 2012, scheduled for February 2013, will incorporate a full 6 months of data, and at that time the comparisons with prior periods at NYCT bus PES results will be much more robust. This month's agenda also includes the NYCT 6-month PES report beginning on page 95, covering the first half of 2012, the full 6-month period. Of the 38 passenger environment indicators covering both local and express bus service, 34 of the 38 remain unchanged, 3 declined, and 1 indicator improved. Bus weight assessment showed an overall, as an example, bus weight assessment showed an overall improvement in the first half of 2012, increasing to 82.6% from 81.6% in the same period for 2011. Peter Caffiero and I are here to field any questions the committee may have on the PES reports per se.
Any questions? Okay.
indicators that are in the book were done visually?
The PES indicators, they're done by what we call traffic checkers, that are the same people who count ridership and count running time go out, and there's a special cadre of them that counts some of the factors that we measure here, and they actually go out and measure it accurately.
And how many, to say hypothetically that the M7 ran at 78.5%, how many times was it checked? How did you arrive at such a number? Just out of curiosity.
I'm just, what particular measure are you talking about?
I'm talking about the bus performance indicator. Wait a second. Yeah, wait a second.
Wait a second. Okay, so those are, first of all, on Staten Island and wherever we have bus time, we're now using bus time to get 100% sample. On the other routes, we do a statistically random sample, statistically valid, and that's one of the reasons we report this every 6 months, because it takes 6 months to get enough data in any given route to be able to break that out.
And when you say random sample, that would be how many inspections? Just out of curiosity.
I'll get back to you on that.
But with bus time, we'll be getting 100%. And Bronx will be done shortly, and then off to the other. It's amazing what money can do with investment.
Technology. Hearing no other questions, our final agenda item is the inclusion of the 2012 Customer Satisfaction Survey for Local Bus, which covers both NYCT Bus and MTA Bus, beginning on page 115. The survey was based upon a random telephone interview of local bus customers and is an effort to measure the customer perception of various factors affecting service. The survey was managed by Peter Harris from MTA headquarters. The survey results rating with regard to overall local bus service remained essentially flat in 2012 compared to 2011 levels. However, it was decidedly higher than 2010 satisfaction levels. The survey results did indicate some decreases from 2011 for the perception of bus speed and the availability and information of bus service. The survey also included for the first time questions related to utilization of bus time in Staten Island, and the results strongly indicate a much higher, as anticipated, level of satisfaction with overall bus service among those riders that obtain MTA bus time information en route to the bus stop, as opposed to satisfaction levels among all survey respondents. We fully expect that the bus time initiative, which will be expanded to the Bronx during 2012, and other ongoing bus-related initiatives such as the installation of security cameras on buses, the traffic signal priority pilot initiative you heard about earlier in the procurement agenda, and the maintenance efforts to improve bus reliability and availability, which has led to significant gains in MDBF performance, will drive notable improvements in the responses to the 2013 satisfaction survey for local buses. We are prepared to answer questions pertaining to any aspects of the customer satisfaction survey, and Peter Harris is here to answer any questions you may have on survey methodology. Any questions?
Any questions? No?
I'll turn the floor back over to Darrell.
Okay, if there are no further questions, this concludes our agenda for this month.
I have one question. Do you want to go back to the paratransit? Tom, you mentioned the IVR, the interactive voice, where we're now telling folks every 15 minutes beforehand when the car or whatever service they're getting is showing up. What's been our history with people, requesting a car and not showing up? Not before the IVR system was put in place. What kind of a problem do we have there?
Yeah, there was a high no-show rate, misconnections, and also a high complaint about the fact that especially during inclement weather, waiting a half hour, uncertain whether the vehicle was going to show or not, was a problem.
Does it tell you the color of the car or the type of car, or just that the car you requested will be there in 15 minutes?
No, actually it gives them the vehicle number because they don't know that at the time of reservations. All they know is the trip's been booked.
Okay.
But this will give them identification to meet that vehicle with that ID number.
Okay, that's good. All right, good. So we'll start seeing results of that. We should see relatively soon. That's great. Any other further questions? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. I have a meeting. I've got to go see it done.